Off we go, ladies! Another Orc versus Undead. Xlord is in the house. Twisted Meadows, bottom left of the map. We have Xlord and Twisted Meadows going up against his Orc counterpart up to the top left. We have Crrpt, our Orc player, once again. Xlord, of course, going to try for the inevitable again. A 5-0 is all that he needs in this best of one series to home in on the memes. He's going to try his best, I suppose. Xlord is actually in an interesting spot. All stupid jokes aside, he's in a spot where he has a really good chance of qualifying for the Rzying Cup playoffs. This is, of course, the last qualifier, so every round counts at this point as you're trying to accumulate additional points. So a win against Crrpt would go a huge way for him. We'll see if he can actually pull it off. We already had previously Crrpt doing pretty well in the tournament, taking down Hot, for example, the former Schröd-Kommando player, SK Gaming. Back in the good old days, had no chance against him. Towered him through. Blade Master as the opening for him. And down to the bottom of the map, the opening with the Death Knight, of course, for the Undead player. Not really a big surprise there. At this point, we're looking at Xlord with Crrpt. Gets the graveyard in. We're going to get a couple of fiends of that. Scouting, of course. On a 4-player map, it's kind of important to find out where your opponent is spawning. No. No. The sheep try and rush away here. But yeah, that's of course great for the Rod of Necromancy. But either way, in this case, you want to see on the 4-player map where your opponent is spawning so that you have a bit of an idea what's the first hero. Is it an opening with Farseer? Do we get a Blade Master? And is there any kind of super aggressive tech on the side of the Orc because of the 4-player map? Is he, for example, rolling the dice here, or what's going on there? But as we already have that set up, we have our Blade Master coming back out, and Windwalk right away as our first skill. Once that the shop is in play, very likely the town portal is going to be sold for some additional items to be more of a nuisance. Yeah, in this case, seems like the Acolyte is actually making it out for at least now. Already a little bit of a bait over. Can, of course, always trap right over here if you play your cards right, which is what he's trying to do. But nicely done. Acolyte comes in, interrupts all of this. So that's already a really sweet move from Xlord, preventing the trap on the big creep. And that slows everything down enough for Xlord to make an appearance with the Death Knight. Very well played. Doesn't really look like much, but it's honestly a huge deal. If you bait those creeps over, you can easily trap some right here with 2 units. And then you have, with only the Blade Master and a Grunt, the perfect setup to get the Rock Golem taken down, which gives you a huge chunk of experience and items. And with Xlord, thanks to the Acolyte, preventing all of that, that's a fantastic deal here for him. So, well done by him. Down to the bottom of the map, of course, the tech into the Halls of the Dead now. And both players trying to get some initial experience onto those heroes. Grunt is currently stopping by and has a little bit of a look, but that's only going to result in him losing hit points. I mean, with a few more units, it would be a surround attempt as well. We don't really see any of that yet, but doesn't really have to. Grunt is going to make it out eventually. Top left, the tech into Stronghold from Crrpt as he's trying to set all of this up here. Down to the bottom of the map, of course, the Halls of the Dead tech is halfway done. And a little bit of body blocking never really hurts. Well, it hurts the Grunt a lot, but it's still kind of nice for Xlord. Doesn't have the Unholy Aura yet, so his chances of taking the Grunt actually down rather slim. Would lose way too much time for pretty much no real trade-off, but can already try and get some additional experience for himself here. Maybe set something up, maybe also trigger and ensnare, of course, 3 creeps. Currently at the bottom of the map, we already have, with now 2 healing salves or 5 charges still left, and also the Scroll of Speed, Blade Master still trying to get level 2 for himself. Just a bit of creeping on the map. Fiends out for Xlord. He's currently on nearly level 2. Soon gonna get that in the main base. Tech about to, or soon gonna be completed. Has also the Ziggurat, by the way, upgraded to an Nerubian Tower. So if the Blade Master ever makes it in here, then he has a much better chance of keeping those Acolytes alive, or at least not losing too many. So that's always important. And for the time being, I mean, honestly, Tojara rushing around is in a position where he doesn't really get as much experience as he probably wants to. He's trying to get as much as he can, but Xlord is finding himself with now 2 Crypt Fiends in a position where he can start to attack a couple of those bigger camps. Blade Master is quite limited with the camps that he can actually attack and take down with the Blade Master. Should still hit level 2 fairly soon, but has now also used a fair amount of his healing salves. In the main base, Stronghold is already done, and he takes straight into tier 3, whereas we can see the Shadow Hunter getting produced. But Xlord as mentioned, is now going for those bigger camps. Now the Grunt is still checking all of this out, and as the Blade Master isn't here yet, that's still fine. We have a Sacrificial Skull in the inventory of Xlord, but he doesn't have a Dust of Appearance, so he can't really play around that. Gets the experience over here though. Talisman of Evasion. That's a pretty sweet item to have early on against the Blade Master that is going to try and harass you with those crits until there's no tomorrow. So that's a good setup for them. And now, of course, the position at the bottom of the map in an attempt to maybe even get one or two of these units. The Grunts are currently helping King Crrpt too. Only question is if Xlord can lock something down, because now he has the Unholy Aura, so now he has a bit of a speed advantage that in theory he could use to simply try and body block some of the opponent's units, or maybe overcome them here. Lich is out as well, so both of the second heroes have now made it into the game. And now with the attempt to get the Forest Troll Warlord destroyed, we have even more experience coming up for Xlord. But King Crrpt is still focusing on the smaller camps on the map. Has at least found the Claws of Attack +6, so now this is of course counting into the crit damage again. Which now means that he can drop some serious one. And he finds a second one too. Okay, now we're talking. That's +12 damage already. And if he gets the Blade Master high enough, those crits are gonna be a problem. Now, as mentioned previously, with Talisman of Evasion and the newfound Lionheart of Stormwind, he has a couple of tools to play around that, and to at least evade some of that damage. We have a Dust of Appearance now as well, and already the Frost Armor as the level 1 talent on the Lich. So there's a couple of tools that Xlord is already starting to use to mitigate some of that orc pressure that will come eventually, especially from the heroes. A well-timed, I was about to call it a polymorph, but a well-timed Hex, for example, is of course a big deal if you can try and shut down the Lich and deny the Death Coil through the Death Knight, or attack the Death Knight directly, depending on the hit point situation. So if you make that happen and get the hero kill in with the Blade Master critical, that's always a bit of a nightmare. Yeah, now we have a level 2 for the Lich already, still that Sacrificial Skull in there. Bit of a double check by the Blade Master, who, by the way, got the Vampiric Aura. Not bad for an Orc player. That's actually a really sweet deal for him now. Starting to creep that Shadow Hunter a little bit more, has the first quarter also in the mix. But that's a pretty sweet setup that he has right now. And there it is already. It's crit time, and level 3 is in. Xlord needs to be a bit careful. And again, I have to highlight once more how much is on the line here. For Xlord, this is a hugely important game to play. He needs to try and make sure that he wins this, because again, points are on the line. If you want to guarantee that you are in the playoffs, then you have to go as far in the tournament as humanly possible. Death Knight is on level 3, so that guarantees the level 2 coil. But in comes the Shadow Hunter, and now it's time for the Hex. He's not using it directly, but this is obviously a big threat now. There's the Hex, the focus straight up on the Lich, but I think that was a bit mistimed there, and he should get the coil through, and there it is, gets one out, but at the same time, the Town Portal has to be used. Xlord is at 42 supply, his opponent is at 39, but at least one Fiend gets snacked up by the Kodo Beast.
A player's forces are under attack.
There's a third hero now too, so in addition to the Hex, we now also are going to see the Tauren Chieftain with a bit of a stomp and therefore a stun. Things can actually be... honestly, for Xlord, this could be a bit of a tricky spot to be in after all. Right now, the triple hero, if it makes it onto decent levels, is a huge problem for the Undead player. We have on the other side the Orb of Corruption now bought from Xlord, so he has also the Nova on the level 2 Lich. But when it comes to experience, he's trailing a little bit behind his opponent. There's no real advantage for him right now. We have the third hero in play, so the Dark Ranger needs to make sure that those silences are absolutely spot on. Needs to drop those before the Shadow Hunter combo with the TC can be too much of a problem. Tauren Chieftain with the Storm, the Hex coming in, Blade Master with a couple of criticals, always a big deal. And once that we see that Blade Master jumping onto the higher levels, it's going to be a huge deal of damage that we are looking at, because we already have 2 claws in the inventory, and in addition to that now the Orb of Lightning. So that's plus 21 damage already, thanks to the aura support that he gets here as well. And this is going to become extremely nasty if we're talking about high-level heroes. So Xlord needs to be careful here. He's also starting to move in to snack a couple of the items away. And in terms of the Death Knight, is actually now in a position where he gets another one. The Amulet of Spell Shield has to buy the Town Portal, of course. was on the map without a town portal up to this point, and that can be a total disaster. If the Blade Master spots you and then the opponent moves in with, let's say, Raiders for the ensnare, you got a couple of Hex and Stomps against you, then you lose pretty much the entire army. So without a town portal in that spot, it's pretty much just a suicide run. As it happens though, he's able to just creep on. Blade Master hasn't sniffed him out yet. Finds another decent aura actually. We got the Flute of Accuracy now, which also means that he has a slight damage output increase on the Lich and on those Crrpt Fiends, so that's already nice. But still, got a Wind Rider in play. Double Kodo Beast right now, level 2 also on the Tauren Chieftain, which means that we have the aura coming in. Endurance aura is in play. Blade Master not on level 4 yet, so that crit is still on level 1, which is definitely the saving grace for his opponent, but there might be another creep jack happening in a second, which would already suggest that Xlord has to TP out again. Yeah, 50 supply on the Orc side against the 48 for Xlord. There's the Destroyer, could save that. Silence already through, the attacks keep coming though. Xlord so far without the coil doesn't use it here, and he's in trouble. He's in a lot of trouble. He might have to TP out once again, and that's of course a lot of resources that he has to use here already, but he's taking the fight against his opponent. Another coil is already coming through as we have another Crrpt Fiend nearly being eliminated, but the Walk Burrow is already in. Burrows the Fiends, trying to save them again, but there's still a Dust of Appearance that's being used right away. A couple of those grunts are falling, but instead to focus onto the Shadow Hunter on level 3, but nice job by the Orc player, microing it into the back of the army. Crrpt now down to 45 supply, with Xlord dropping down to 40, trying to take the Wind Rider at least down. There's the focus against the Obsidian statues. That one is already good, but we still see the Wind Rider fall, and Xlord is currently keeping the Death Knight alive, but he needs to be careful. There's the Hex, where's the Stomp when you need it, where's the Stun? Doesn't get it, gets blocked, and TP's out with another quick coil against the Shadow Hunter, who barely survives, but instead makes it out of the fight. 2 Crrpt Fiends snagged up by those Kodo Beasts here. Xlord at this point still losing a few more skeletons, extra experience for the Orc player. Level 3 Shadow Hunter, nearly level 4 on the Blade Master, and down to the bottom left we have Xlord with a slight lead now in experience, and the more important part, Banshee's coming up. And that's the big one. Getting the Banshees in and the additional attack, that's really the saving grace for the potential next fight that's going to come up eventually. Now, of course, there is a little bit more happening on the map now on the macro level. Top side is where the Orc player is attempting to expand, and Xlord sniffs it out, gets the crystal ball, and sees it right away. Knows exactly what's happening, knows about the timing here, and he really needs to check that as soon as possible. Ring of Regeneration, another great item for him given the situation. His Death Knight is incredibly low, so he needs to make sure that that bad boy hits high hit points as soon as possible again. That's what he's doing now. Also, putting another base into play himself, so trying to expand, counter expansion against the Orc player. But this game is definitely going to become a little bit closer than a lot of people probably expected. TC is on 3. That puts the Stomp on level 2. And we have also the Hex now. Still on level 1, but again, we have the Healing Wave on level 2, and now that the Blade Master is about to hit the next level, he's going to get that critical on level 2 as well. So that's going to be a big deal right there. But as the game and the match continues, we now have both players with expansions nearly done. Having the Silence on the Dark Ranger on level 2 would also be worth quite a lot for him right now. Death Knight is about to hit level 4 as well, by the way, so that would in theory give us mostly the aura. We've seen approaches actually to go for the Death Pact instead, and if he feels threatened enough, he might actually get that as well. There's already a little bit of a dust, trying to make sure that the Blade Master isn't around. So far he doesn't get creep jacked here. Level 3 now for the Dark Ranger in play. That gives us no Silence upgrade just yet. Instead we're gonna have the additional minions in. Xlord is still waiting for his Death Knight to hit the next level. But there we go. Alrighty. Yeah, Lesser Dark Minions are already getting sent over. Blade Master, as expected, on 4 now with the level 2 crit. Sobi Mask, by the way, on the Shadow Hunter. Not bad. And Potions of Lesser Invulnerability on the Blade Master and the Tauren Chieftain. So both of the heroes have it. And the Blade Master at the bottom of the map sniffs out the expansion, can annihilate the Acolyte without any problem whatsoever. And here comes the attack. Xlord on 49 supply. And his opponent on 59. 10 supply lead, and off we go. Banshees are in, but only 2 of them right now. Of course, the web is immediately being used as the Crrpt Fiends are entering the fight here against the Wind Riders. But there's the Scroll of the Speed also getting used, and King Crrpt in a pretty good position against Xlord now as he's moving through with another Storm against Lich, who immediately gets called by the Death Knight. But we see the Blade Master just shredding through that backline, taking one Banshee down after another, and focusing immediately on those Obsidian statues. 44 supply for Xlord. The Berserker Headhunters are also being eliminated now as King Crrpt falls down to 43 supply. Xlord with great micro here gets hexed again on the Death Knight, though, as the approach is made for the Lich, easily moving out of harm's way, I might add. And now we still have 3 heroes against 3, but Xlord is microing the heart out of these units here. He's doing a fantastic job keeping heroes alive and just pushing his opponent's units back time and time again. Kodos are already dropping low, but still have the Crrpt Fiends devoured, though. Another Fiend about to be taken down, and he loses it this time. That Blade Master starting to do some serious work with the plus 25 damage that he has, but it looks like at least one Kodo is going to fall. The level up for the Lich as he's hitting level 4. The Blade Master still on level 4, doesn't really get any closer to level 5. He doesn't get too many units eliminated here. Massive amount of resource on the side of the Orc player. He's looking at 1,400 gold, while Xlord is spending resources during the entire fight to rebuild his army. Is looking at 49 supply right now and still trying to go up to the top to go maybe for an attack. Orc player needs to get rid of all of this. 46 supply for him. Xlord, of course, down here with the base done, but he needs to get those Acolytes in play, and that's exactly what he's building as we speak. Trying to get the Acolytes into play. Has a good position now when it comes at least to his heroes. Level 4 on the Death Knight, level 4 on the Lich, level 3.5 for the Dark Ranger. And that last fight was not a bad move for him. It was actually pretty sweet. Good items on both sides, and a lot of damage through the Blade Master in particular as he took down Banshees and statues. There was very few items, very few consumables that had to be used by the Orc player. Both of the potions of lesser invulnerability are still in. We have the Shadow Hunter now with the potion of mana that he could use during the fight too. But Xlord is hoping to get his heroes even a little bit higher. Especially the Dark Ranger on level 4 would do him a lot of good. Having the Death Knight, of course, on 5 would be the dream here. The question is if he can pull that one off. And talking about potions of lesser invulnerability, we have another one as well, in this case for the Lich. Xlord also finds the Belt of Giant Strength, by the way, which now puts the Death Knight to 1,175 HP, which is pretty bonkers, to be honest. But the attack at the expansion, that's a big deal right now. Xlord is currently at 61 supply, King Crrpt is at 63. So both of the players pretty much on eye level when it comes to the supply numbers, especially when we're talking about the army supply, of course. The Wind Riders right now, 0 upgrades for them. The Berserker in also 0 upgrades. Good coil already, so that was a nice one. The attack against the Crrpt Fiend, on the other hand, Burrow being used, Dust of Appearance is in, and here comes the attack, even with the Orgrimmar on level 5, fighting for the Orc player. He's trying to go in for another Crrpt Fiend. Xlord is shelling away one nuke after another, microing the Lich already. It's to the back, and is still fighting away with the Orb of Corruption. He has the Blade Masters going in for the casters again, taking one Banshee down and focusing straight on the next one. Shadow Hunter on level 4 in the back as we speak. That Dark Ranger nearly hitting the next level as the Death Knight is already getting a little bit closer to level 5 himself. Another Wind Rider already down as the Crrpt Fiends are doing their job with one wave after another. And another quick coil, saving the Destroyer here. Xlord at 53 supply, and King Crrpt is down to 47. He's losing unit after unit. The heroes are still looking fantastic for him, but that's not going to be enough here unless he gets a kill in against the Lich or the Death Knight, but it's going to be tricky. Misses the Stomp against the Lich, and it is a mad problem. Xlord doing a fantastic job keeping those units away from the Stomp and from the Hex, always just spreading them out as much as he can, saving another Fiend with not only the Frost Armor, but another coil, and taking down that Orgrimmar. Nice Stomp this time, but it doesn't really seem to be enough, and the Blade Master is in a bit of trouble now as well. 43 supply for the Orc player, 54 for Xlord, and the German Undead player trying to take those heroes down, but there's a lot of potions still in play for both players. Now all of a sudden the focus onto the Blade Master, Potion of Healing, nearly level 5 on the Death Knight, by the way, but the Crrpt Fiends are getting attacked again, and King Crrpt is already starting to move back here as he pretty much has no units left anymore. And that's another problem for him, as we just see now the Kodo Beast appear in the fight, and that's that's of course just free experience for Xlord if he plays his card right. Oh my god, he can actually go for the Shadow Hunter. Totally isolated, just appearing, and down he is. Level 5 for the Death Knight. The coil, not even skilled, goes for the Death Pact instead and just snacks up a Fiend. Fantastic move here in the nick of time to make sure that he is going to survive with the first hero. They approach onto the Destroyers, onto the Obsidian statues as King Crrpt is trying to turn the tides of the battle. He's down to 31 supply, has 1,700 gold. 60 supply for Xlord as he spends all his resources, has still a mining base, and King Crrpt is having mad problems. Massive amounts of gold, massive amounts also of lumber. Well, not massive, but 400 more than he needs at this point. But he just doesn't get rid of his resources as quickly as he should. Can buy a couple of items right now, has rebought the Shadow Hunter, but during the fight there was definitely potential of rebuilding a few more units, and now he is starting to be in trouble. The army gets sniffed out, and that's going to be a death sentence for the Shadow Hunter. Good luck keeping that bad boy alive. Coil comes in, easy kill, and now we have level 5 on the Death Knight, soon to be followed by a level 5 on the Lich and the Dark Ranger. It could even be the end of the Blade Master, but thanks to the Potion of Lesser Invulnerability, he's able to get away right here. Nicely done. Whoo! 62 supply for Xlord. And at this point, up to the top, this expansion is of course the perfect target for the next attack of the Undead player. Gonna try and take this one down as King Crrpt is licking his wounds in an attempt to rebuild his army, which is not gonna be easy by any means. But even considering that he has still a lot of gold, he's gonna lose a lot of that very, very soon right here. So with that, we have not only those peons taken down, but very likely the Great Hall is going to fall as well. Well, nicely done. Xlord is looking at a fantastic setup right now. At this point, good items all across his heroes. Well, actually, if I was the Dark Ranger, I would be a little bit pissed. Death Knight and Lich walk away with 6 item slots completely filled, and the Dark Ranger doesn't get anything. Apparently, she's been bad-mouthing the other two the entire game long, so yeah, they're apparently a little bit salty about that. Tiny Great Hall gets used, and why not? You have the resources to pull it off, so by all means go for it. But Xlord is also putting another base into play, this time as far away from his opponent's base as pretty much possible, considering the creep spots that have been attacked so far. Upgrade level, 2 attack upgrades and 1 armor upgrade for those Crypt Fiends. And the Blade Master still not level 5. Still not level 5 for him. And yeah, now he's starting to run out of resources as we speak. But Xlord is scouting all over the place. And he finds the base, he sees it. And he can of course double check with the gold mine when exactly this one was built. So he will know that he just finished. There's an attack. Oh, there's the silence. And he immediately uses another potion. Potion of Lesser Invulnerability. Surround attempt here, trying to play around that. But Windwalk is ready and gets used immediately. Trades a potion for a statue. Trying also to set maybe another one up. But guys, let's be honest here for just a second. This is looking fantastic for Xlord. If his Death Knight survives this, if there isn't a hero kill, then this is pretty much the Undead player's game to lose. In comes the Shadow Hunter as he makes his approach. Level 5 for the Lich. The Lich gets actually focused. There's the Stomp. Where's the Coil? Could set it up any second, and there it is. That keeps him alive. And now we can just focus down the Orc units one after another. This is looking fantastic for Xlord. 61 supply against 22, and that's GG as King Crrpt drops out of the game on Twisted Meadows, and Xlord victorious moves on to the quarterfinal of Rzying Cup number 12.